From. Welcome and good morning to the Joint Standing Committee on Innovation Development, Economic Advancement, and Business. The committee is assembled today for the purpose of inviting public comment on legislation. Before we get started, I just want to share some of the information related to the fact that this is on Zoom and is being live streamed on YouTube. Let's see, so if you are going to be giving testimony today, you would have registered with the committee clerk and been sent a Zoom link. And right now, if you're one of the attendees, we can't see you or hear you, but when it's your turn to speak, our clerk will go ahead and bring you into the committee, and then you'll be visible on the screen, and also your audio will be on. So be aware of that, and mute your mic until you're ready to speak, and everything should go great. If everyone could be sure to put any title, representative, senator, along with your name, and also attendees, if you could do the same with Mr., Mrs., Ms., Mix, senator, representative, doctor, whatever title you use, that would help us to welcome you and introduce you. Please, at this point, what I'd like to do is ask the committee members to introduce themselves. So Representative Geiger, would you kick us off?
Yes, thank you, Senator Curry. Good morning. I'm Representative Valley Geiger, District 93, Rockland and Owl's Head.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Pebworth. I represent House District 133 in the Blue Hill Peninsula.
Good morning. My name is Amanda Collymore. I represent House District 106, Pittsfield, Clinton, and Detroit.
And good morning. I'm Senator Scott Searway, and I represent District 16, which includes Waterville, Winslow, Fairfield, Benton, Albion, Clinton, and Unity Township.
Good morning. Representative Jack Ducharme, representing House District 111, Madison, Norridgewock, and Solon.
Good morning, Mayor. This is Sue Austin, hailing from my hometown of Gray. I represent portions of Gray, Raymond, Casco, and all of Fry Island in Big Sebago Lake.
Representative Tavis Hassenfuss, House District 81, which is Winthrop, Reedfield, and North Monmouth.
Representative Kyle Bailey, House District 27, part of Gorham and a small part of North Scarborough.
Good morning, I'm Sue Bernard. I'm representing Caribou, Westmanland, and New Sweden.
Good morning, I'm Representative Tiffany Roberts, your House Chair, representing House District 6, which is comprised of the majority of North Berwick and South Berwick.
And good morning once again. I'm Senator Chip Curry, and I represent Senate District 11, which includes the 26 rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County. Excellent. So a couple more reminders for function. This is instructions that the committee members have heard numerous times at this point, but please, I do it the same way every time, which is I get into instructions and I realize I've forgotten to introduce our staff that are supporting this committee. So our clerk is Ms. Jody Breton, and she will be welcoming people, managing the technology and supporting people moving from attendee to panelist and back again. And then also, if there are any technical issues, please feel free to send a chat to her. And she is there. I see her name is on the box, and she'll be able to problem solve that for you. If for some reason that's not working, you can send a direct chat to me as well. Ms. Breton, can you make sure, I haven't checked that Representative Roberts and I are listed as co-host? Oh, we are. We are already. And then also I'd like to introduce Ms. Rachel Olson is our committee analyst. Welcome, Rachel. And she'll be supporting the committee as well. So at that point, One note on the chat, we're going to make sure that none of the substantive conversations happen in chat. That is not recorded, is shared as part of the YouTube. And so we want to make sure all of the testimony is delivered via orally or submitted through the testimony submission process and not via chat. Let's see. Our order today is we're going to be going is our same order we typically use, which is we'll hear from the bill sponsor, we'll hear for those for the bill, for those against the bill, and then end with those who are neither for nor against the bill. At this point, what I'll like to do is open up the work session on LD 730. We're gonna start with LD 730 and then go to LD 149. And so if we can introduce, bring in Senator Daughtry for LD 730, and I need to get it in front of me as well. So LD 730, an act to protect economic competitiveness in Maine by extending the end date for Pine Tree Development Zone benefits. And welcome, Senator Daughtry. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you. Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Innovation, Development, Economic Advancement, and Business. My name is Maddie Daughtry, and I am the State Senator for Senate District 24, which includes the towns of Brunswick, Freeport, Harpswell, North Yarmouth, and Pownell. I live in Brunswick, and I am pleased to co-sponsor and support LD 730, an act to protect economic competitiveness in Maine by extending the end date for the Pine Tree Development Zone benefits. And I will say, I'm sure you've heard this before, but it is a unique pleasure for me to say the tradition typically of when you come before a committee that you're on of bringing goodies. Unfortunately, can't do that over Zoom, but I do owe all of you some goodies when we're back in person. And it's just very exciting since I was the first House chair of this committee. So I get a particular joy out of coming back in front of all of you this morning. So jumping right in, as you may know, the Pine Tree Development Zones program offers 10-year state income tax credits and sales tax exemptions to businesses that create new quality jobs in certain industries or move existing jobs in those industries to Maine. These sectors are important to the future of Maine's economy, include biotechnology, advanced technologies for forestry and agriculture, and aquaculture technology. The PTDZ program supports both our businesses that are already here in Maine and also helps us attract new businesses to our communities. These industries are vital for supporting our local economy and building out our statewide capacity in these sectors. They also provide good paying jobs, allowing people of all ages the opportunity to live, work, and raise a family here. The Pine Tree Development Zone program was set to expire at the end of this year in 2021. LD 730 would extend the program to 2024. As one of the only comprehensive development programs here in Maine that directly support our businesses and workers, I believe that we must continue to support this program. In addition, intensive reporting is required in order to ensure that the PTDZ, try saying that 3 times fast, program is not being abused. The legislature charges the Department of Economic and Community Development with collecting information necessary for the state to administer said program. To ensure full program compliance, annual reporting is mandatory. In addition, the DECD Commissioner reports information to its Legislative Oversight Committee each year. This program has helped numerous businesses and employees, and it is a homegrown tax incentive that has served as a recruitment tool for quality jobs across our state. And there are others here today who can talk a little bit about some of those businesses. As an aside, I do want to add that tax incentives are only one piece of the puzzle. And for robust economic development, as you all know, we need to have a variety of mechanisms in place, from quality and affordable post-secondary education and training, research and development opportunities, broadband improvements, infrastructure investments, and investments in quality of life programs like childcare, paid leave, affordable housing, universal healthcare, et cetera. We can have these tax incentives in place, but if we don't have the quality of life to recruit employees to come with these businesses, this is just dead in the water. The PTDZ program has incredible potential, but I'll be honest when I say it needs improvement and severe updating. It's been on the books for a few years and it needs to be brought into the 21st century. A 2017 OPEGA report found many flaws in its designs and implementation, and it's incumbent on the legislature and this committee to conduct a thorough and comprehensive review of all of our tax incentives. I know there are others here today who can speak about plans in the works to do such a review and the need to tweak this program and others. However, I also believe that the PTDZ should not go into hibernation while this review is being conducted. In a time where businesses are already struggling, we can't pull the rug out from underneath them. Our business community and employees are looking for us to lead on this issue, along with others, and I believe that they are best served in this moment by some guarantee of stability while we investigate how we can improve this program. Thank you for the opportunity to present this bill, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Senator Daughtry. Are there any questions for the senator? Senator Searway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So nice to see you this morning. And I just wanted to ask you is there any examples of successful ones that's similar to ours that we could reflect on that maybe at least to get it going in the right direction?
If I can just ask a quick clarification, Senator Searway, are you looking for examples in other states of other similar tax incentive programs?
Right.
Or businesses that we've been able to attract with this?
And how to manage them. I mean, apparently, what like you're saying, we're kind of obsolete right now, and we need to get it back in order. But I just don't want to end up doing it and then saying we're going to do some type of revision and. You know, I mean, I think we need to have something in place that we can at least find something that's successful and following in the meantime, you know, so.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to get all of you for the work session additional information on some other examples across the nation. There are some key ones. And also I do know that there are others who will be testifying after me about things that are currently in the works within our state departments to tweak the program based on best practices. And I absolutely agree, you know, we can't just, you know, keep it going and not actually have an improvement. But I also recognize, you know, right here in my own community of Brunswick, we have the Brunswick Landing and the redevelopment of the Brunswick Naval Air Station. And many of the businesses that we've been able to recruit have been in conversations and have been particularly interested in the Pine Tree Development Zone. And whether that's some of, you know, our, you know, biotechnology or high tech, they've all mentioned this program. So it's one of those, we know it needs to get better, but it still has enough name recognition and potential that there are ongoing conversations right now that would be hurt if we just shut the door in 2021 and don't continue that while we're seeking to improve and make this program better. So happy to get you more resources. And I know there'll be others who'll be much more eloquent with their examples too.
Thank you.
Of course.
Representative Collmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator, for your presentation. My question is, having read through the bill language, the only concern I have is where you've said that we need to look at this, and I agree that it needs to be looked at. There's no language in the bill reflecting that charge given to us in order to say, yes, you're going to do this if it passes. So it could, as Senator Searway was reflecting, just sit there for another 3 years and have nothing done to it because there's no charge to actually do something. Is there a way we could, are you looking at adding an amendment to this that would include that, or are you looking at having additional language come forward in front of us that would make that charge happen?
Absolutely, an excellent question, Representative, and thank you. Currently, as it states, it is not in the bill. I would be happy to either put forward an amendment or discuss one with all of you. One of the mechanisms I would consider is a report back from the DCD, say in early January 2022 on current work with a comprehensive review on both this program and others. That's fine. Do also want to give deference to let the department be able to speak on their own work and what would be best suited to make sure that happens. And since, you know, the Pine Tree Development Zone isn't our only tax incentive, I don't currently have the bill, but it's something we did on IDEA all the time of considering committee bills. It might be something about, finding a way to partner with the department and make sure that language and that reporting mechanism is created, even though the work is ongoing. And I think the other part that this ties into, that there is language on the books about is our 10-year strategic plan, and making sure that we're really, cleaning everything up and making sure that we're, launching this vision and have all the mechanisms to make that possible. So I think those are sort of 3 different ways that we could go about this, and I'm amenable and happy to discuss all 3 with all of you.
Not seeing any other questions. Thank you very much, Senator Daughtry, and I trust you would be open to being available at the work session.
Absolutely. We'll be happy to be here. Thank you all.
Thank you. So, and let's see. Ms. Breton, I'm missing the list, and so I'm trying to navigate to that. Can you see who's top on the list of for people to give testimony in support of?
Yes, we have Miss Mace, Miss Capera, and Mr. Del Greco. And then we have one person against.
Okay, so if you could welcome Ms. Mace. Welcome, Ms. Mace. The floor is yours. We have a 3-minute testimony timeline, and Representative Roberts has agreed to give the warning. So please, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Senator. Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and members of the IDEA Committee. My name is Charlotte Mace, and I direct the Office of Business Development for the Department of Economic and Community Development. I am here today to testify in support of LD 730. The Pine Tree Development Zone program is one of the state's foremost business development tools. When a business connects to DECD to figure out how their investment plans could work in Maine, Pine Tree Zones almost always tops the list of programs the department discusses with them if they fit the criteria. Whether a major wood products manufacturer is comparing multiple states to make their next investment, or a local business is looking for ways to grow their steel fabrication shop, Pine Tree Zones is the best package Maine has to offer. It is the largest tool the state has for incentivizing business startups and expansions in Maine, and it forms a key part of our department's investment attraction efforts. The state does not have another comparable program. The Pine Tree Development Zone program is important to the state, but there are opportunities to improve and better incorporate it into the economic development strategy. This legislation would allow for an extension of the Pine Tree program, which creates a stable and predictable landscape for the business community and enables our department to engage in a review. A significant amount of the department's long-term policy work was delayed due to the department's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This included a full review of the Pine Tree Development Zone program. This bill allows us the opportunity to dive deeper into incentive policy. We want to make sure the Pine Tree Development Zone program and all of our incentive programs are cohesive with the economic development strategy, reflect current research into best practices for development incentives, and are responsive to the national economic landscape as we hopefully approach the end of the pandemic. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Chair recognizes Representative Pebworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Mace, for being here. Would it be helpful for the department to have an amendment to this piece of legislation?
Thank you, Representative Pebworth. Can you be a little bit more specific? Is there a particular amendment that you have in mind?
Just regarding the review and the report back.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I do want to point out that the OPEGA did just complete a limited scope review of Pine Tree Zone, and that report is available now. And the Government Oversight Committee actually had some questions on that report, which they sent to our department. Great questions. And I'm just wondering, we haven't submitted those responses back to government oversight yet, but I'm just wondering, I think that those responses would probably also be helpful to this committee. But one of the questions was, you know, what is the plan for the review? So we're engaged in that sort of comprehensive review now. We're actually just starting that process. We have kind of a working group that is not fully formed yet, but it's something the commissioner has convened to talk to industry and businesses, and also the people in Maine most involved with investment attraction, to think about what that review involves. So we're actively working on it.
Chair recognizes Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Senator Curry. Ms. Mace, I'm just wondering if there is any hard data on how many businesses have come to Maine that are using the Pine Tree development, how many have expanded using it, and some sense of how many jobs were created and at what cost per job.
Yeah, well, I can give you this. The same question came up recently, so I can give you a little bit of recent data. And the data changes with respect to the source. So Maine Revenue Services has their own estimates of the tax credits, and then the businesses themselves report out on the benefits of this program. So for the year 2019, Maine businesses self-reported about $25 million in benefits to their companies, the companies that participate in this program. And then Maine Revenue Services estimated for 2019 around $10 to $12 million in costs of this program for fiscal year 21, including the extra ETIF benefits. ETIF, as you know, is Employment Tax Increment Financing Program. That's another very valuable tax incentive that companies are automatically enrolled in when they get certified for Pine Tree Development Zone. So that is just a couple different measures of that. But one thing I will point out is we're working hard to update the system that we use to run this program. It's admittedly an older database that we use to keep track of Pine Tree, and we're hopeful that we can implement a CRM, a customer relationship management system, Salesforce, which we had planned to do, and we were poised to do that just before the pandemic and the budget curtailment. So we're hopeful that we'll have a system as part of this review and improvement to give you exactly those metrics that you're interested in, Representative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Mace, is it access?
You know, that's a good question. It's called BDTI. It's an old system. It works very well for making sure that we follow the rules and the statutes. But in terms of pulling that data that really allows us to measure effectiveness, we'd like to see more of that.
Okay, great, thank you. Representative Callamore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Mace. I'm wondering, you had said that you had conducted a limited review of the program. Would we be able to get a copy of that before the work session so that we can look at that?
Yes, absolutely. So OPEGA put that out in November of 2020, and it was a limited scope review. I think a more comprehensive one, Senator Daughtry had mentioned that one came out in 2017, I want to say, but I absolutely can send you a link to that OPEGA final report, the one that the Government Oversight Committee had, processed.
Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Senator Searway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What are the major issues that seem to stand out for concerns when it comes to, I know you mentioned about pulling data, and is there data to show how effective it is right now? Those are the two questions I have.
Yeah, so, and what I can do for you is I know you're all very interested in data, Senator Searway, and that is exactly what we're all interested in. So I can get some more numbers that we have, and I think we had prepared those previously, so I can get those and share those prior to the work session. I will say just anecdotally, as I am the director of the office that is charged with investment attraction, this is the biggest thing that we have when companies consider Maine. Louisiana Pacific was deciding between, I think it was Michigan actually, and Holton, Maine, and what we had to offer them, in addition to just the amazing assets that Aroostook County has for them. We have the Pine Tree Development Zone program. That is what we have. So I know that's not, we do have data to back up how this has helped companies, but in terms of me dealing with investors every day, this is what we have, and it's compelling over a 10-year period when they get that tax credit. GoLab in Madison is another example of a company that is looking forward, and their project is going to be possible because of this program. But I'll work on getting some more data for you, Senator.
Thank you.
Don't see any other questions, so thank you very much. And Ms. Breton, if you could promote, I think it's Mr. Peter Del Greco. I'm sorry, Representative Austin, did you have a question for Ms. Mace? You're muted.
Oh, there we go. Yes, I'm sorry. I kept pushing it, but I didn't see it show up on the screen.
I didn't see you either. Well, the floor is yours. You're muted again.
Is that okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
There. Miss Mace, good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Representative Austin. How are you?
Good. I'm having a little difficulty. I'm on a different computer this morning, and this one's not quite as agreeable and quick. Are you at liberty to share some of the folks that you think either have already committed to being on that group that's going to kind of give some oversight here that you just mentioned?
Absolutely. And like I said, the commissioner is just starting to think about that working group, so to speak. I'm remembering from our first meeting, I know that Mr. Del Greco, who I believe is poised to testify next as part of Maine and Company, as you know, they're very active with the investment attraction. They're involved. We have some industries involved, in particular the types of businesses that are really growing very well, biotech, advanced technology. I'm trying to think of some other people that were in that working group. I can certainly get a list to you, and I just want to say that it's not finalized yet who is in that group. So we're open to others if they want to be involved.
Okay, thank you. I thought it would just be good to see, get the juices flowing who might be at that table. So thank you.
Thank you. And before we get started with your testimony, Mr. Del Greco, am I pronouncing your name properly? Del Greco?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Before we get started, I see Representative Andrews has joined us. Representative Andrews, would you introduce yourself? Did I miss you
Good
earlier?
morning.
Oh.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry for the tardy start, but I have it now. John Andrews, District 3, Buckfield, Hebron, and Paris.
And Mr. Del Greco, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and distinguished members of the Innovation Development, Economic Assessment, and Business Committee. My name is Peter Del Greco. I'm the president and CEO of Maine and Company, and I'm here to testify in support of LD 730. My organization exists to find growing companies and show them how they can be successful in establishing an operation in Maine. Created during the administration of Governor Angus King, we are a privately funded nonprofit. We compete with states from the entire country, from states around the country and countries from around the world to attract new jobs and investment to Maine. We also work with existing Maine companies, helping them implement their growth plans. Maine companies, too, are constantly bombarded with solicitations from other states and communities to move their operations out of Maine. When I started with Maine and Company in 2004, The Pine Tree Development Zone program was brand new. Working with members of the administration of Governor John Baldacci, we saw firsthand how the program was introduced and rolled out. We've been honored to have a front row seat to watch how the program has evolved over the years and through subsequent administrations. In the economic development world, there really are no shortage of reasons why this program should be extended. We can look at this situation through a number of different lenses. Anecdotally, I can share with this committee numerous stories of companies that would not be here without the Pine Tree Zone program. These companies that have conducted nationwide, in some cases worldwide searches. There are thousands of people employed by Maine and company related projects that were successful simply because of the Pine Tree Zone program. If we look at it statistically, there are independent third-party consultant reports that show this program has a positive rate of return for the state. Investment Consulting Associates conducted 3 assessments of all of Maine's investment in research and development programs, including the Pine Tree Zone program. Before Investment Consultant Associates was purchased by Conway Data, they conducted, it's an organization that's conducted these types of reviews for governments all across the world. If we look at the Pine Tree Zone geographically, we can see that there are Pine Tree Zone certified companies throughout the entire state. If we look at wage growth, companies every year need to increase their compensation to ensure they remain compliant with the compensation threshold that gets set. From a competitive perspective, this program is incredibly conservative. It is written in statute, and unlike many other states, it is not discretionary. It's formula-based. It regulates itself, and companies do not abuse it. Compared to our neighbors in New England, this program is incredibly modest while still being dramatically more effective. And from accountability, this program, as I mentioned, is performance-based. A company receives benefits after it performs. Companies faithfully report their activities to the state. The state has all of the data necessary to perform an evaluation. Most of it, as Ms. Mace mentioned, lives at Maine Revenue Service, and I know DECD also collects information as well. I encourage everyone, every member of the committee, to visit Pine Tree Zone certified companies in your district. The impacts of this program has had, and see the impact that this program has had on the lives of your constituents. Examine the jobs and lives people have built for themselves due to this program. See the reinvestment that has happened throughout the state. Take a tour of Grand Rounds in Lewiston, or Mulnica in Brunswick, or Athena Health in Belfast, or CNL Aviation in Bangor. Pardon me?
Hi, we've hit the 3-minute mark. Can you wrap it up in the next 10-15? That'd be great. Thanks.
Sure. I'll just say that I think that we're all here. We're all on the have the same goals. We all want to bring new jobs and investment to Maine. We all want a growing economy that works for our families, and we all want to be fiscally prudent in achieving these goals. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Representative Callamore.
Thank you, Mr. Del Greco, for presenting, and Mr. Chair for recognizing me. You had said that we rank above the other New England states, and I love data. I'd love to see how we're ranking over those other states and what parts of the program benefit us more than what other states in New England have, and how we can strengthen those areas that we know are working.
Sure. And when I say we're doing better, I didn't want to say that we're necessarily, that there is a formal ranking by a group. It's more that when I see what other states are doing, Massachusetts, for example, they've got, they had a $1 billion fund, a $1 billion 10-year fund that was followed up by a $500 million fund to do this type of work, mostly and that was just in one sector. That was just in biotech. If you compare, and I believe Ms. Mace mentioned that Maine Revenue Service said we spend about $10 or $12 million a year on our program. I got to think it would be hard for the legislature to find $1 billion to invest over 10 years, but maybe $10 million is something where we can say, hey, we've had a pretty big impact and we haven't had to go out as aggressively as some of the other states have. I don't believe, now when I look at some of the other states, I don't believe New Hampshire has any program similar to this. Vermont has tried a couple of programs, but nothing that's had this kind of has lasted as long as this program has. And again, Connecticut and Rhode Island have also had fits and starts. I get the feeling I'm missing a New England state and someone's going to yell at me, but I think when I say that, it's based on my experience of what other states are doing. They're either spending a ton of money and getting results with it, or they have not been able to generate the consistency that we have by having this program. And I think it's a fairly modest amount. And I like to think of it as, and I apologize if I'm going on too long, it's almost like a revenue sharing program. These companies are generating new revenue that would not be here but for the existence of this program. So because this program is here, it's generating new revenue for the state, and the state is sharing that new revenue that's being generated with the company.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Chair recognizes Representative Austin. I think it went back to mute. Yep, you're good now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I still on?
Yes.
Mr. Del Greco, welcome. How are you?
Not bad. Thank you, Representative Austin. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, Lord, it's my family trying to shut me off, and now they've gotten into the legislative. Okay, on a more serious note, as you said, this program is about what, 16, 17 years in its journey. Is it possible, and you may not be the one that should be tasked with this, but I would love to see, and perhaps that's coming in the material from the work that's been done, but I would love to see some of the players that have, just be reminded. You mentioned the place at Brunswick Landing. Melika, I never can say that place right, but it's incredible. If we could have a list of those, I think that again will kind of be an enlightening moment for our committee. They'll see ones that they recognize and say, oh my Lord, this really did help get them here. Things like that. I don't know if that would be for you or someone else that might be coming.
Well, I think DECD keeps that list fairly current. And if I remember over the past, I mentioned before that there was an evaluation that was being done that had been done 3 times over 6 years. And I believe the next update was supposed to be in 2020. And I do remember having conversations at the time with Commissioner Johnson. And that was one of those things, unfortunately, that I think COVID and the pandemic just kind of just crushed. And so I think that I do know that they were looking at one point to see who was going to do the next versions of the evaluation. And I remember fairly frequently of them updating what I think was, I'm going to date myself a little bit. At one time was the BRED committee and then became the LCRED committee. Now it's the IDEA committee. But it felt like every legislature up until COVID, they were providing the committee charged with economic development an update and included a list of the companies. At least in the past, that's what they'd done.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Del Greco. I think that's all the questions we have for you.
Great. Thank you
Appreciate
for the opportunity.
Your time. Yeah. Ms. Olson, I'm definitely hearing a request for a lot of documentation and history and what reports exist. Mr. Del Greco just referenced 2 from the Investment Consulting Associates, now Conway Dana, and then one of the things I'm noting that when we come to work session, if as much lead time on that bill analysis might be helpful, because it might have a lot of reports. So if we could have some lead time on that, that would be wonderful.
Yes. I'll just mention I did send the limited scope review from OPEGA by email just a few moments ago.
Great, thank you very much. And Ms. Breton, is there anyone else in the queue for speaking on this bill?
We have two more people, Miss Cabrera in favor and Miss Austin opposed.
Okay, so if you could bring in Ms. Caprara.
And I too will apologize if I mispronounce their names.
Can you hear me?
We can, Ms. Caprara. We can't see you. If you'd like to turn on your camera, you're welcome to.
I'm actually reading my testimony because I was unable to print it. I had some technical difficulties. Actually, I can read it. You know what? I can do this. Hold on. I can read this from my phone.
Whatever works for you. We can hear you.
Hold on. Okay.
Would you introduce yourself?
Okay, there I am. Good morning, Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and members of the committee. My name is Linda Caprara, and I am a resident of Winthrop. Shout out to my personal representative, Hassan Foss. I also represent the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, and we are testifying in strong support of LD 730. We'd like to thank Senator Daughtry for putting this bill in. It's a very important bill. The Pine Tree Zone Development Program is one of Maine's primary economic development programs that has helped to grow Maine's economy and continues to do so. Since its enactment, the Pine Tree Zone program has made a significant contribution to the level of investment we've seen here in Maine. It's clearly met its intent to improve economic development in the state. As of 2019, these were some of the stats I think some folks were looking for. DECD reported 180 businesses were currently enrolled in the program. These companies have over 7,000 employees that were Pine Tree Zone development eligible, with a combined well over $380 million in payroll. That's huge. The average wage of these employees was over $52,000, and over $500 million in qualified investment is associated with this program. We feel the Pine Tree Zone Development Program does in fact align nicely with the goals of Maine's strategic plan. Those goals are to grow the average wage by 10% to the benefit of all income levels, increase the value of product, and attract over 75,000 people to Maine's workforce. The legislature has made some changes to the program over the past few years. And you heard there was a report back in 2017. There was another report a couple years ago. It was an interim report. Changes have included clarifying that job creation as the main goal of the program. You are required to at least create one new job, requiring that companies add at least one new job. We also feel this is very appropriate. In addition, there was a but-for clause that was added to provide assurance that the program does in fact influence companies' decision-making process when they decide to invest in a particular state or location. One could argue that this does or doesn't have anything to do with the investment, but it is an additional step that the business has to adhere to help validate that argument. Over the years, the Maine legislature has clearly recognized the importance of the Pine Tree Zone Development Program. Originally, the program was directed at economically distressed areas around the state. But in 2009, during the recession, the legislature voted, and in the House in particular, overwhelmingly voted 142-0, 9 absent, to make the program available to companies across the state. Legislators wanted this program at the time, I was there, to clearly be available in their districts. In 2018, the legislature voted to extend the program to 2021. Many people believe that Maine has significant investment dollars and programs available to attract jobs and opportunities in Maine. In fact, Maine has few incentives on the books to attract investment. Keeping Maine businesses competitive should be the #1 priority. We feel the Pine Tree Zone Development Program is one incentive that has worked, and the state needs to ensure its future on an ongoing basis. We believe that the Pine Tree Zone Development Program will ultimately help the state realize its goal of growing Maine's economy. This will be crucial over the next few years as we are coming out of this pandemic, and companies are struggling, and they continue to struggle because we are not over this pandemic yet. So we feel very strongly, we urge you to vote yes on LD 730, and we'd be happy to work with the committee. We would be in favor of a report from DECD. We think the statistics on this program stand on its own. So we feel very confident about that. And again, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Chair recognizes Representative Pebworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for being here. I have two questions. One, if you could give an example maybe of a favorite Pine Zone project pre-COVID, just something that has come to your mind that really stands out as a good example for.
I don't. I can get that information. We don't have a list of the companies or the projects, but I can definitely get that.
Not to worry then. Could you tell me more about but-for?
Well, the but-for clause is, companies are required to sign a but-for clause. We wouldn't have invested but for this program. And there's, discussion, well, does that really impact it? Aside from signing a contract, which companies are not going to sign because they don't know what's going to happen going forward on a going forward basis with the markets that they deal with projects, things can change overnight. So the but-for clause is really probably the best thing that they can sign, that they really feel that, yes, we went forward with this project because this program was in place. So, it gives them another, it's sort of to confirm, what they're doing is in fact because of this, of the availability of this program.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions, so thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
And Ms. Breton, if you could bring in Ms. Sarah Austin. While we're waiting, Senator Lucchini, are you still with us? If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name's Louis Lucchini. I represent most of Hancock County in the state Senate. Thanks.
And welcome, Ms. Austin.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
We are able to hear you, but we can't see you. If you'd like us to see you,
okay.
There you go. There you go. So the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and members of the Committee on Innovation, Development, Economic Advancement, and Business. My name is Sarah Austin. I'm a tax and budget analyst at the Maine Center for Economic Policy, and I'm here to testify against LD 730. The Pine Tree Development Zone is a tax expenditure program that was enacted in 2003 with the intent of fostering quality job creation in economically distressed areas of the state with a focus on manufacturing and research and development industries. Eligible new or expanding businesses located in Pine Tree Development Zones could apply for a slate of tax breaks and other benefits under the presumption that these tax breaks would spur job creation that wouldn't have otherwise occurred. Since then, the program's geographic scope has been expanded dramatically, with the entire state at one point declared a Pine Tree Development Zone under a two-tiered system, as Ms. Caprera referenced. Tier 1 areas cover relatively more distressed regions where employers may receive tax benefits for up to 10 years, and the remainder of the state was Tier 2, which only extended benefits for 5 years. The window for application for businesses in the Tier 2 areas closed in 2013, but those in Tier 1 areas, which is all of the state except for a portion of York and Cumberland counties, are still eligible to apply for the program until the end of this year. This bill would create a 3-year extension for those new applicants until 2024. A 2017 review by the legislature's OPEGA found that the program did not support its intended goal of creating quality jobs in distressed areas. And rather than take on that as an issue in the program, the legislature instead just changed the goal to remove any intended goal of prioritizing growth in distressed areas of the state. And this program continues to fail to hold up to administrative scrutiny, as we've seen in the most recent interim review, to demonstrate positive effects on job creation in its new, narrower goal. Applicants have to submit this but-for letter that has already been referenced, which now must be notarized, but it doesn't make a difference in being able to actually show that businesses wouldn't be able to create these jobs except for these benefits. So it's incredibly difficult to prove. So with the exception of the ETIF benefits, the program doesn't scale benefits to the number of jobs created. So employers can add one new job and get enormous tax benefits through the Pine Tree Development Zones. And the add-on to the ETIF program removes the existing incentive within ETIFs to actually prioritize more distressed areas of the state. Right now, the normal ETIF program is better suited to deliver benefits proportionate to need, offering 75% reimbursement rate for new employee tax withholdings to employers in the most distressed areas and only 30% to employers in more favorable employment areas. But this program, Pine Tree Development Zones, completely evens that out, erases that structure, and says that everyone is able to get an 80%. Yes.
Hi, we've hit the 3-minute mark. If you could just wrap it up in the next 10, 15 seconds.
Of course. So in summary, I think Maine is certainly better off focusing on better job creation strategies, the investment in public schools and university, high quality infrastructure, and family and worker friendly communities. As we know from data, very, very few businesses actually move from state to state, and only about 3% of job creation happens because of interstate business moving. So for these reasons, we urge the committee to vote ought not to pass on LD 730.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing no questions. Thank you very much, Ms. Austin.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Senator Searway.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Austin. I think sometimes we have to hear what the results is and what your experience is, and apparently you're the one that kind of keeps the budget and kind of oversees it, right? Is that my understanding?
I mean, I work at an organization that we look at the larger budget, if that's kind of,
Okay.
So I work for a nonprofit, I don't work for the state.
Okay. So, but you keep an eye on it, and you feel that it just hasn't done what it should have done. Is that your understanding, or you think it's better to invest in other ways than this? That's what you're saying.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Okay. And you're with a nonprofit organization, and what nonprofit organization is that?
The Maine Center for Economic Policy.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you giving us some information there. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. Austin.
Thanks.
Ms. Breton, is there anyone else in the queue waiting to give testimony on LD 730?
I do not believe so.
Having heard all of the testimony, for those who want to give it, we will declare this public hearing closed. We'll now open up the public hearing on LD 149, an act to facilitate licensure for credentialed individuals from other jurisdictions. And sorry, it's taking me a moment to get to the right spot. Is Representative Cloutier here?
Yes, she is.
Great, thank you. Representative Cloutier, welcome to the committee, and thank you for your patience in our rescheduling today. And the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and esteemed members of the Joint Standing Committee on Innovation, Development, Economic Advancement, and Business. I am Representative Kristen Cloutier, and I am here today to present LD 149, an act to facilitate licensure for credentialed individuals from other jurisdictions. This bill is the outcome of Resolve 2019 C79, which directed the Commissioner of DPFR to form the working group to study barriers to credentialing, to assess impediments to professional licensure for skilled individuals with foreign credentials and individuals from other states applying for Maine licensure. The report identified obstacles and made recommendations to enable foreign credentialed, foreign skilled, and out-of-state license holders to become a part of Maine's workforce and economy. While I was not involved in that study, I have been deeply engaged in conversations around these issues within my own district of Lewiston, while both a municipal and state official. While I'd be happy to share my own experiences at another time, I'd like to cede my remaining time today to Ann Head, the Commissioner of Professional and Financial Regulation, so that she may give you a more detailed explanation of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative Cloutier. If there are any questions, it might be better to wait on questions till we hear from Commissioner Head. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Cloutier. Just a point of clarification. You referenced a department, so is this a department bill?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, thank you very much, Representative Cloutier. And let's ask Ms. Breton if you can promote Commissioner Head. Welcome, Commissioner Head. Are you with us? There you are. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and members of the committee. My name is Ann Head. I am the Commissioner for the Department of Professional and Financial Regulation, and I'm here this morning to speak in support of LD 149. I will summarize my written testimony, but I hope you have a chance to read it. I want to introduce the Office of License of Occupational and Professional Regulation within the DPFR, which is committed to reducing barriers to licensure within its jurisdiction. We want to help all current and future Mainers to attain a license in their field and work at their highest level of licensure. The attraction of new Mainers, new Americans, and other newcomers is essential to Maine's economic growth, and this bill is an important component of that effort. LD 149 focuses on two groups: foreign trained professionals and out-of-state licensees, all of whom want to come to Maine and practice and live in Maine. This bill will encourage and integrate both groups into Maine's workforce to support our economy over the next 10 years. LD 149 is the result of work started by the IDEA Committee from the 129th Legislature. The committee requested a study of barriers to licensure for these two groups of individuals. The report recommended methods to reduce those barriers. I have provided a link to the report in my testimony. The 129th Committee drafted a bill based on the report's recommendations, but couldn't finalize the bill before the legislature adjourned as the pandemic hit Maine. It is a bill that will reduce barriers to foreign trained and educated individuals, as well as providing a measured, more uniform process for out-of-state licensees to come to Maine and obtain a Maine license. The question is how to accomplish the goal of increasing our workforce through professional licensure for these two groups of individuals. For the foreign trained individuals, I refer you to sections 1 through 7 of the bill, which provide the answer. Those sections will provide the director and licensing boards within OPOR greater flexibility to assist those applicants from other countries, some of whom leave their home countries because of war, and they have trouble obtaining their documents for licensure. The way we'll do this is very direct. The director will have extended authority to waive exam and application fees and documents as a hardship waiver. We will be able to grant provisional licenses so applicants can work while they satisfy licensing requirements if they need to do so. The director would have rulemaking authority to guide the process. And the office would be able to accept grant funds to further our work here. So that's the foreign trained group. Now, for the out-of-state licensees, Section 8 of the bill authorizes an application process called licensure by endorsement. This method is a measured, flexible approach that allows license holders from other states and jurisdictions to obtain a Maine license quickly, so long as they meet certain reasonable conditions. Last week, the committee held a public hearing on LD 612, a bill similar in intent, but it uses a broad mandatory process that would allow even those with only a voluntary private certification to be licensed in Maine. LD 612 is not a reasonable approach to professional licensure when the safety of Maine citizens is at stake. We strongly believe that LD 149 and licensure by endorsement strikes the right balance between allowing Maine's boards and regulatory agencies to exercise the discretion and authority they have been granted by the legislature to serve their public protection mission and expand our workforce potential by simplifying Maine's licensure process for out-of-state license holders. I would be happy to answer questions now or at the work session, and I thank you for your attention.
The chair recognizes Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, was the partial impetus Representative Morales's bill? Am I connecting the right pieces from last?
Yes, you are. Yes, there were two bills involved. One focused on foreign trained individuals and another bill on out-of-state licensees, and they were merged.
Okay, that sounds like you've done some good work. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Collmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. One question I have is the licensure by endorsement part of this. Is that going to help align the ability for somebody who, for example, holds a master license in another state, but when they try to transfer that master license to the state of Maine, it becomes a journeyman license instead of a master's license, even though they've been practicing at a master's level for, let's say, 5 or 10 years?
That's an excellent question. And the answer is it depends on the licensing program. I know that you're referencing some of our trade programs, and that is something that I will be working with boards to, through the rulemaking process, to make sure that we have the licensure endorsement in place so that we can transfer that license one to the other. That's a difficult question to answer without some specifics, but I know exactly what you're referring to. And yes, that will be a rulemaking effort, and our trade groups, our trade licensing boards are very interested in incorporating out-of-state licensees with any kind of license in that field.
Okay, if I could, Mr. Chair, just ask for a point of clarification. So will this bill allow you to be able to work with those chairs better so that that can be accomplished, or is that able to be accomplished even without this bill?
Some of our programs already have licensure by endorsement, but it's not across the board. So this is an effort to standardize that process for all licensing programs within the office.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Head, can you just
kind of walk me through, again, the differences between the bill we talked about last week, 612, and this current bill? And I think some of that might be in the shall language that was contained in the bill last week, but I'd be interested to hear more on your interpretation of the two different bills and their distinctions.
Yes. The issue with LD 612 is that it is mandatory. In other words, a Maine licensing board, under certain circumstances permitted by 612, would not have any say in whether someone was qualified for a license here in Maine or not. And the example that I put in my testimony is simply a private certification from another state that is voluntary probably would not qualify someone from out of state without a state license in that area to become licensed in the same job classification here in Maine. So I think the reason we all prefer the approach in 149 is that the authority of Maine licensing boards that has been in place for many years to make these decisions using a standard flexible process will be better for Maine citizens because of the licensing board's public protection mission. They are totally responsible for licensing qualified individuals from other states. So a broad mandatory bill is simply not going to work for the agencies that issue licenses in Maine. The bill takes away any discretion that a licensing board should have for making these decisions. I think that Maine licensing boards have made excellent decisions. They are very much involved in the review of applications. They understand and agree that we need many more out-of-state licensees to come and work in Maine. So we prefer the more measured, flexible standard that we see in LD 149.
Seeing no further questions for Commissioner Head. And thank you for your offer. I'm sure we'll be taking you up on your offer for joining us at the work session. So thank you very much. And next up is Ms. Povek. This is Ms. Povek with the Governor's Office of Policy, Innovation, and the Future. Welcome, Ms. Povek. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and members of the committee. My name is Maria Millard Povek, and I'm a senior policy analyst with the Governor's Office of Policy, Innovation, and the Future, or GOPIF, as we like to call it. I'm patching in this morning from Belfast, and I'm here to support in favor of LD 149 as a way to accelerate Maine's economic recovery, specifically in the way it advances 3 of the key recommendations put forth by the Governor's Economic Recovery Committee. And those 3 pertain to workforce attraction, entrepreneurship, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the Economic Recovery Committee was formed in May 2020 to offer recommendations to the governor to stabilize and support Maine's economy, and then to serve as a bridge between the current crisis and the state's economic development strategy. So our job for the second portion was to really lift our eyes and try to work on the future as others were working on the immediate crisis. The committee was co-chaired by Thomas College's Lori LaChance and Tilson's Josh Broder. And the committee was composed of 37 industry leaders, economic experts, and nonprofit leaders. And together they put forth two reports, a July report and a November report. And the November report was that long looking report, which I'd like to talk about those three things this morning. So by allowing the director of OPOR to exercise discretionary authority over licensure applications, we'll advance these three following ERC recommendations. So the first is around workforce attraction, and we've heard already this morning through LD 730 and others through this bill that attracting talented professionals to Maine is critical to our economy. According to the Migration Policy Institute, about a quarter of foreign trained professionals in Maine with a college degree or higher are unemployed or working jobs that require a high school degree or less, almost 25%. So by reducing those barriers for trained and licensed folks, we'll be able to bring more talent into our workforce, address current workforce needs, as well as provide more services to the people of Maine who need those trained professionals. The second recommendation related to this bill put forth by the ERC is to supercharge high growth entrepreneurship by making Maine more welcoming of immigrants and supportive of the success of entrepreneurs who are people of color, Native Americans, and women. And we know that diversity is good for the bottom line, right? So let's leverage the talents of these individuals who are already in Maine and make Maine a more appealing place to come to be an entrepreneur. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. This was a real focus of the committee, and the committee recommends that we make Maine a more diverse and equitable place where all Mainers can reach their fullest potential. So the bulk of the workforce recommendations coming from the ERC were really about unleashing potential and again, trying to get us back towards the economic development strategy goals. So we know in-migration is critical. We know that strengthening our workforce is critical. We see LD 149 as a step in the right direction to get more licensed people to work in their chosen careers. And this bill supports the recommendations of the Economic Recovery Committee. So I thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think I called you by your wrong name. It's Marie Millard-Povich. So
that's all right, no problem. Millard was my prior name, and so I know some of you folks as Marie Millard.
Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing no questions, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
And if Ms. Stickney can be brought into as a panelist.
Oh, hi there. There we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Senator Curry and Representative Roberts and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak in enthusiastic support of LD 149 today. And my name is Beth Stickney. I'm in Portland, and I direct the Maine Business Immigration Coalition, or MEBIC. MEBIC is Maine's only resource dedicated to providing information, education, and advocacy on immigration and related issues from and for the business and economic perspective. As I'm not going to go through my entire testimony, which you should have already, but hitting the high points, as you're all aware, Maine's labor supply is shrinking as baby boomers retire and our birth rates have fallen. And the pandemic has not changed the fact that I hear from Maine's employers every day that finding workers is still about their greatest challenge. Immigrants are key to our state's population growth. And more recently, even though that has been recognized by the Governor's Economic Recovery Committee and the Maine Economic Development Strategic Plan, more recently, over actually 95 now, Maine businesses, chambers of commerce, trade associations, and higher education institutions have signed the Maine Compact on Immigration, which I attached to my testimony, urging state leaders to, quote, adopt policies and practices to help Maine become a destination of choice for immigrants to the U.S., and that provide an environment where immigrants can reach their full potential in our state. LD 149 is exactly the type of policy change that the signers of the compact envision. You've just heard from Maria Millard-Povich about brain waste. This waste of human potential extends beyond those in professional careers to those who may have been cosmetologists, plumbers, and others working in a wide range of trades and careers that require a license in Maine. LD 149 would give the Office of Professional and Occupational Regulation sorely needed flexibility on a case-by-case basis to grant licensure to those who have moved to Maine from other states or other countries without any kind of blanket lowering of standards, which could happen under two other licensure bills that this committee will be considering and has considered, LD 612 and LD 1131, which happen to be word for word identical to each other except for their titles, indicating that they were crafted by national organizations and not drafted with any consideration of Maine specific needs. Moreover, these two bills give those who move from abroad short shrift. Yet since 2010, to the extent that Maine's population has grown at all, data shows it's grown due to international immigrants moving to Maine, not due to in-migration from people from other states. LD 149 is much more thoughtful consideration of Maine residents from abroad would meet Maine's needs far better than LD 612 or 1131. LD 149 implements thoughtful recommendations produced by a working group created by the legislature that involve relevant stakeholders, and it will help individuals from other countries as well as other states be more quickly able to reach their full potential here in Maine without sacrificing standards of competence. The bill will benefit both those who move to Maine from elsewhere and Maine's employers, economy, and tax base. So I urge you to vote ought to pass on LD 149. And I will also say I heard from Matt Marks of AGC Maine, who said that he was going to be getting his testimony into you, but he got called to another committee. And he authorized me to say that he also enthusiastically supports this bill and prefers it over LD 612 and LD 1131. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Seeing no questions, we'll proceed to, Senator Searway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a broad question, I guess. The question I just asked is, how's this affect the people currently licensed in Maine? Does it make it more competitive for them?
What I am hearing from employers all over the state is that there simply aren't enough people in any of the occupations that need, licensure, and particularly in the trades. I don't know about you, but when I have a plumber come to my house, that plumber has gray hair just like I do and has a really hard time contorting themselves under the sink compared to 20 years ago. We just don't have enough people. So I have not heard any concerns about competition. There is more work out there than people around to do the work.
Well, it was interesting. I talked to a friend that had his roof done on his house, and I guess there was a whole group of international people came up and did it, and he said it was like Cirque du Soleil. They were all happy, and they'd throw the measuring tape right over the roof and catch it on the other side. He said it was really something. They did it like in a day, so it was amazing. Yeah.
Roofing would not be happening in this state if it were not for the Latinx population.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, that's who's doing it. Yeah. And construction, trades, farming, that may not need licensure, but, immigrants are really keeping this economy going.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Seeing no further questions. Thank you very much, Ms. Stickney. And let's see, Ms. Brett, if you could bring in Muffalo Chipman, and I apologize in advance if I've butchered your name. Welcome. And I apologize. Could you pronounce your name for me, please?
Mufalo.
Mufalo, my apologies. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Mufalo Chitam, and I'm the Executive Director for the Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition. And I'm here to testify in support of LD 149. I submitted my testimony, so I'm just going to speak from my heart. So I'm the executive director for a coalition that's right now about 75 organizations, ethnic organizations, majority of them, who support immigrants, regardless of refugees, asylum seekers, undocumented. And so being one of the people that were part of the working group that made the recommendations that are in this bill, I struggled, what it is I was going to say that would move the needle as it relates to the populations that we serve. As you heard from Beth, there's 90,000, almost 90,000 projected by the census 2020 of multicultural people. A majority, half of them are foreign immigrants that are coming here. And being a professional myself, who moved from our country, Zambia, in 2000, my degree was in public administration. I did not have to struggle. My skills were transferable. But I can tell you stories upon stories of immigrants who are in this place of nothingness as a professional because they have skills, but their skills come with credentialing, come with licensing that make them not be able to find jobs. And so in thinking through, what it is I was going to tell this committee today, that would just make sense. And I heard the commissioner, going through data after data, going through statistics. And I can only say to this committee that, when these credentialing and licensing policies and laws were met so many, many years ago, you didn't have people like me. You didn't have professionals like me. And so we find ourselves in this place of where we're trying to change policies so that they can reflect a people. We're talking about almost 90,000 multicultural people projected by the census 2020. And half of these are professionals who are trying to find their way through. And so we're here, especially as a coalition to advance, their lives. But I'm here to say to you that you are the same people. There were people like you who sat and made those laws because they did not have people like me. Now that you have professionals like me who can be able to run organizations, who can be able to add to the value of the state of Maine, I just urge you, to look at the statistics. We did the working group last year, and we made recommendations. So we did an intensive analysis. So here today, I'm just here to remind you that you can look at the people that we are serving now and make the policies reflect those people so that people that I serve who are in this place of nothingness can be able to find their skills, can be able to use their skills to advance the state of Maine, but also to promote their own businesses, but also to attract more people to the state of Maine. And so I hope that this committee can look through and make the policies reflect the people that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you state the name of your organization, the coalition that you're a part of again?
The Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Senator Searway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question I have. So if we, vote this in, is there any way of, do most of the people that are applying for these positions, are they trying to become a U.S. citizen Is there any documentation of trying to do that? Or what is the process?
So I could speak about the process, but most of the people that are trying to get these licenses are already citizens. They're already permanent citizens, so they have legal documentation to work and live in the United States. So they're already, they do have the right to work. So before they can even go to that, yeah, most of them who we're advancing and advocating for do have the right to work. So
I haven't been through this. I don't know, and I just was asking what the process would be if you went to apply for this. Would you have to have some type of documentation of showing that you're trying to, or you've been approved or whatever to come and be part of it? I don't know.
Absolutely. That's even the first thing that before you can even apply for credentialing, because most of the people that come here, they come through, I came through the diversity lottery. So this is a was started by the Clinton administration. Hopefully, I think most of you know. But when I came to the United States, the moment I arrived, I had the right to work. So if I was a professional, my degree was in public administration, and I have a degree from Zambia. So I did not have to get accreditation for me to work. But for somebody that comes, I have tons of people who come. I just, one story I can give you. One of my friends, Betty, she's from Southern Sudan. She was a dentist, but she came here. She had all the skills. But she came here, she was legal to stay and work in the United States, but she could not use her credentials from back home. And so you have many of these people that come, but when they come, the first thing is, you go through the right to work. So you have that. Then you start seeing if your credentials back home, can allow you to work. But there's, all the professional, the credentialing and licensing that, that are required for different professionals that make it harder for people to be able to work in those fields.
And do they check those credentials of the licensing, who or how it's, like for the dentist? Do they have like the school that they went to and all that? And, information.
Absolutely, they do have that. But if you weren't, so right now she's had I think for the last 10 years almost, because it takes it takes a long time. So she's now in school. She's now in school. She's at UNE and she has to go through these exams and to get she's passed levels of them for her to even get be able to work even in a dentist office. So we have tons and tons. I can tell you stories upon stories of people who are in a similar place of nothingness.
Well, I appreciate you coming and speaking. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ms. Breton, if you could invite Ms. Sally Sutton into the panelist. Welcome, Ms. Sutton. The floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, members of the committee. My name is Sally Sutton, and I'm the program coordinator of the New Mainers Resource Center at Portland Adult Education, and I am pleased to speak in support of LD 149. In my role as program coordinator, I have the opportunity on a daily basis to work with foreign trained professionals who are seeking to restart their lives and careers here in Maine, and licensing is one of the most challenging aspects of a foreign trained professional's entry into the workforce. Of the people that I work with, generally 75% or above have bachelor's degrees and higher. And this is a skilled population that Maine really cannot afford to try and take advantage of. Besides learning from the people that I work with as I try and help them through the licensing process, I have also done some research. I've submitted earlier this year a report to your committee about many of the challenges that people face. We're also part of a number of national and multi-state initiatives that are also trying to address issues around foreign trained professionals. And the challenges that people face are significant. And in my written testimony, I've outlined some of those, but this seems to be at this point a positive hearing, and I want to focus on, the positive things, and that this is a great piece of legislation that you have before you, because as the people that I work with, and I think I want to expand a little bit on what Mufalo has said, in that many of the individuals that I see coming through Portland Adult Education are coming here as refugees and asylum seekers. They've come here as part of being forced to leave their home countries for war or political persecution or whatever. And so it wasn't necessarily their intention to come here and start their lives over again. So that means that they're essentially, if you come here as an asylum seeker, you might have to wait a little while before you're able to get that work authorization that Mufalo mentioned. Again, if you're here as a refugee, you're starting to find a job from the beginning and figuring out how to get going with your career. And you didn't necessarily plan to come here and work as a doctor or a dentist or whatever again. So I think as Maine thinks about the solutions that it's putting forward to address this issue, we have to be aware of the full range of people who are coming here and some of the challenges that they face. And I think this bill does a lot to address the challenges people face once they get to the licensing process. There are still many challenges that people face before they can get there. And I hope your committee will continue to think about and address those other issues. Again, that would allow people to get to the point where they are able to apply for licensure. I had an opportunity to participate in the working group that led to this legislation.
We've hit the 3-minute mark. If you could just
Okay.
wrap it up in the next 10, 15
I just want to say thank you, and also really want to commend Commissioner Head for her enthusiastic support of moving these issues forward and trying to address these challenges. And I hope your committee will also embrace them. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sutton. Senator Searway, do you have a question? Left over from before? Okay. Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we have more folks in the tunnel to come in to testify?
It looks like we have about 3 more folks, 3 or 4.
Okay, at some point, would it be all right if I asked the commissioner a question, probably at the end?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly. Any other questions for Ms. Sutton? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Glad to see you again. And Ms. Breton, if you could promote Simon West into as a panelist. Welcome, Mr. West. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Senator Curry, Representative Roberts, and members of the Committee on Innovation, Development, Economic Advancement, and Business. My name is Simon West from Gardner, and I represent the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, a statewide business organization made up of both large and small businesses, here to provide testimony in support of LD 149. At the State Chamber, we stand behind legislation such as this that supports the governor's 10-year economic plan. Part of that plan is to grow the state's talent pool to meet employer needs. There are 2 basic means to fill workforce gaps. The workforce can be raised and educated here, or it can be transplanted from elsewhere. This bill focuses on the latter. This bill helps address several goals for Maine's economy. First, it assists in growing Maine's workforce. This will close current workforce gaps while bracing us for the future. With trends in both process and technology advancement, Maine is positioned to be creating jobs in new and expanding industries while still attempting to fill jobs in current industries. Both needs must be addressed. Secondly, as Maine attempts to bring diversity, equity, and inclusion to a homogeneous workforce, decreasing barriers for foreign professionals to come to our great state will undoubtedly work toward that goal. Lastly, studies indicate that for service and low skill sectors of an economy, people follow the jobs. When it comes to highly skilled and specialized sectors of an economy, jobs follow people. Part of this bill focuses on workers with advanced degrees and professional licenses. Bringing those people here when they could be going anywhere will open our state to new opportunities, attracting high-paying employers and growing underrepresented sectors of our economy. Adding high-paying employers and highly paid individuals to our economy will stimulate other industries, especially hospitality, an industry hard hit by COVID-19 and in need of our support. In closing, this bill not only aims to expand our current workforce, but compels coordination with licensing agencies to protect consumers and keep adequate standards for performance and knowledge. It is in our best interest to make entering Maine's workforce a simpler process, reducing burdens and barriers that are irrelevant to the prospective workers' knowledge, skills, and abilities. Thank you for the opportunity to present testimony.
Thank you, Mr. West. Seeing no questions. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ms. Breton, if you could promote to panelist Claude Organge. Welcome, Mr. Organge. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Claude Organge. I am a city council in Westbrook, and I'm also the founder and the executive director of Prosperity Maine. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on this wonderful opportunity to share my opinion on LD 149. As I said, as an executive director of Prosperity Maine is dedicated to help everyone prosper. However, as many of my colleagues have said previously, we have seen so many hurdles and barriers for success by many of our immigrants who have really education but unable to advance because of the barrier of credential evaluation. My organization actually has worked with so many other organizations to look into credential evaluation. We have actually connected with the national organization to try to ease this process and to try ourselves on our own with the limited resources to help people who are either trying to go into the workforce or trying to go back to school. Right now, as we speak, we have about 20 women in our economic empowerment program. Those women have been sitting home and not being able to use their skills because they are limited, and they range from a master's degree to a high school diploma. However, none of those is actually working. So this LD will ease the flexibility to actually allow them to get back into the workforce, which men so really incredibly is looking for. In addition to that, we also are putting people on a shelf that we usually need in our economy, but because of the limitations, because we are stuck to the old model, we really cannot advance. Innovation is here. We need to innovate. We need to be more creative. We need to open up. We need to lose the difficulties to allow people to work because we need them, to allow people to start small businesses. There are so many small businesses who are really stuck themselves, even though they had skills back home, even though they are ready to go, they cannot move forward because the licensing is a big, big challenge. So I urge the passage of LD 149, which will help not only the immigrants, but we also help the state as a whole. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Raganje. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And next we have Julia Trullo. Ms. Breton, is true. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her last name. Trullo there you go. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Senator Kerry, Representative Roberts, and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Julia Trujillo Luengo, and I am the director of the Office of Economic Opportunity within the City of Portland's Housing and Economic Development Department. The Office of Economic Opportunity is the first office of its kind in Maine at the municipal level, which aims to support a strong sense of belonging for all Portlanders, particularly our racial, ethnic, and linguistic minorities, including our immigrant and refugee populations. The office opened in 2017, and in order to organize our work and the many challenges ahead, we published a citywide strategic action plan for inclusion at the end of 2018. In this strategic plan, we cover many areas of need and opportunities, but we divided it among 4 major outcome areas: economic development and inclusion, cultural and social inclusion, civic inclusion, and what we call welcomeability, which is our ability as a city to be welcoming in an intentional way. This morning, I will be speaking of economic development and inclusion, and particularly our strategy 1 under that outcome area. Strategy 1, Action 8, speaks directly and aligns perfectly with the language included in LD 149, as it reads that the Office of Economic Opportunity and its partners should advocate with the Office of Professional and Financial Regulation and the individual state boards of professional licensing, among others, to mitigate the challenges to licensing for those with foreign credentials and work experience outside of the United States. This plan that I'm speaking to you this morning about is highly actionable, measurable, and with very concrete timelines. Because of the pandemic, the specific action, Action 8, reads that by June 2020, which we're a little behind because of our lovely COVID-19, 2 or more boards or similar institutions would have reviewed the licensing processes as it pertains to foreign trained individuals, would have addressed at least 1 documented barrier for foreign trained individuals, and would have followed with at least 1 or more recommendations. So LD 149 accomplishes this for us, and we can say that we met our indicator of success. I also submitted a written testimony, and I won't go over all the details, but I did want the opportunity to also speak to the particular barriers that this bill addresses. As many of my colleagues have mentioned, Maine's foreign trained seeking to be licensed face a lot of barriers. First, existing licensure requirements today narrowly contemplate the trajectories of the domestically trained and are excessively challenging for foreign trained residents to meet. From 2011 to 2016, 75% of the total demographic growth in Portland has been attributed to the immigrant population. And almost 40% of that population, 25 years or older, have a bachelor's degree or higher. Like Mufalo, Sally, and Claude, and many others have said, we have met, okay, I'm wrapping up.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we have many different examples that we could share with you. But this is a very powerful tool to address both the underemployment of current Mainers and also to attract many other Mainers across the country, because this brain waste and this underemployment is not a Maine only problem, but it's a national challenge. LD 149 also addresses this, the fees will remove yet another unnecessary barrier for the foreign trained. Lastly, I would like to say that it also sends a very important signal to our newest Mainers and probably many future Mainers that we see your value. We thank you for choosing us and we welcome you. Thank you to also Commissioner Head for her leadership in advancing this very important challenge for all Mainers. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. Trujillo Luengo, for your testimony. And I think we have Ms. Breton, if you could bring in Donald Dosty. Hello and welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman Curry and Representative Roberts and members of the committee. While we acknowledge, I'm Don Dosty and I'm the president of Maine Society of Land Surveyors. I'm here representing them on behalf of our concerns we had for LD 149. We're neither opposed nor for the bill. We feel there could be some minor revisions that could be made to the bill, and I'd like to go into those after I present what I've written here. While we acknowledge the concerns which led to the drafting of this bill and recognizing the need for more professional land surveyors who work in the state of Maine, we respectfully ask that our proposed revisions to LD 149 be considered. We submitted the revisions as part of our written testimony. Land surveying is a specialized profession, unlike any other, requiring knowledge of local history, boundary laws, and rules of construction that differ from many other states, territories, and foreign countries. The board overseeing land surveyors enforces those standards defined by statute that are unique to the land surveying profession. We are fact finders, trusted by the general public to have the experience, education, and practical knowledge required to seek evidence in the records and in the field. After careful consideration using local standards of practice, boundary law, and historical knowledge of the area, we provide an opinion on where a boundary is located. This solemn duty to be an objective and unbiased fact finder, while acknowledging the evidence unique to each property surveyed, requires specialized knowledge local to Maine. I'd like to add a personal note. My wife and I, we've been married for 9 years. She's from Thailand, and she had a difficulty getting a job. So I am very sympathetic to a lot of the testimony that has been given here. We have lived it. And I think our concern is land surveying as a profession is different than most, if not all, the other trades and professions that are under this department. So our board, you know, land surveying is a process. And we have to understand the law behind determining boundaries. We have to be familiar with case law. We have to be familiar with statutes. We have to be able to read deeds from the time of King George in cursive writing. And so for practical reasons, there has to be a time period for somebody, for let's say a refugee or an immigrant coming to Maine, to work with surveyors here in the state of Maine, to become more familiar with the language, our customs, and the laws regarding how we determine boundaries. So I look forward to working with the committee in the workshop to see if we can try to add a couple of tweaks to the bill so that our profession is not harmed by bringing people in too quickly, because our standards require a significant amount of experience and education. For instance, there's a core curriculum you have to take along with 7 years experience just to sit for the LSIT, which is the land surveyor in training. Then you work with a surveyor for another 2 years before you can apply for licensure. With that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Dosty, as you No, I deal a fair amount with land surveying in my legal practice. And so I understand that there's certain Maine specific, knowledge, a lot of Maine specific knowledge base. How does that come into play with a surveyor, let's say, who is trained in California or Ontario, Canada, something like that, who is then coming to Maine? How would they go through the licensure process now?
Right. So there is a certain level of reciprocity that we will use. They would have to sit for a Maine specific exam, which would ask them the questions specific to our area to show that they are familiar enough to become licensed in the state of Maine. So California, Michigan, a lot of the states out west are based on the public land system. We are a colonial state. We were part of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, one of the 13 original colonies in the United States. And the closest thing we have to a public land system is in northern Maine, where we have 6 mile square townships. So the rules of construction and how we determine boundaries differ somewhat. There are states who have no shore frontage, for example. You have to be familiar with common law as to how you deal with tidal flats and where the boundary is relative to the upland areas. So there is a process. Somebody from California, I hired somebody from Utah in the past for a former company I worked for. And you have to apply for a licensure, sit for the Maine specific exam, as long as you show qualifications and the experience that allow you to do so. I guess and also I want to state that my main concern is that our board remains in control of reviewing and approving applications. And I want to state also, LD 612, I've read it, I understand it, I don't like it. We oppose that. We'd much prefer to have a bill like LD 149 in place.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Dostie. I just have a question. My understanding from the commissioner's testimony is that this bill provides flexibility so that the department is able to conduct rulemaking with each board that is specific to that trade or occupation. Would that not cover your concerns there?
They do. And like I said, we have some minor revisions to the bill that we'd like to implement in order to assure that that's going to continue.
Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Collymore. Representative Collymore? I think you're double muted.
I don't even know how that happens. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Dostie. I wanted to, my question was actually almost completely exactly the same as Representative Roberts. I guess at this point, what I'd like to hear is what your recommended changes are to the bill and how that would change the intent, which of course would keep the power with each individual board.
Yes, thank you. In section 3, for example, it begins reading, to exercise discretionary authority after consultation with the appropriate licensing board, commission, or personnel administering a regulatory function of the office to waive on a case-by-case basis. I've added language for those encountering hardship through no fault of their own. In the case of refugees from foreign countries, they may not be able to provide documentation that they have the experience and education that is required to move up in that step of licensure, full licensure. So there has to be some definition of hardship in LD 149 that allows for boards to consider it. In section 4, much the same language, we would like to add, for those encountering hardships through no fault of their own, and only after consultation with and approval from the licensing board, commission, or personnel administering regulatory function of the office. We didn't see that language within section 4, and we thought that should be in there. Section 8, I had one problem, one word, which basically says delegate to staff the authority to review and approve applications for licensure. And we know they review. We enjoy having state employees go through all the applications and present them to the Board of Licensure for review and approval. So the only problem I have in section 8 is the word approve. I think that belongs with the board. We had, in my written testimony, asked to be accepted out of section 8, but I think I understand now that's unrealistic. And in section 9, much the same language, only after consultation with and approval from the licensing board, commission, or personnel administering a regulatory function of the office. So I understand that we are dealing with 66 boards. And I think land surveying is a very unique profession within those 66 boards. And I think a lot of what we can do is perhaps look at some of the standards and regulations that we have as a board specific to land surveying and see how we can add to them to bring in more refugees and immigrants and allow for easier licensure for those people.
Seeing no further questions, I will thank Mr. Dostie for his testimony.
Thank you very much.
And I have a question for Representative Austin. Representative Austin, you had a clarifying question for Commissioner Head. I want to make sure we're not going to slip into work session, but if you've got a clarifying question I'm happy to ask her to come back.
You read my mind. That was going to be my opening remark, is that I hope I am being technically correct. So let me just do a little brief thing. Because of Senator Searway's question, and I think it's followed through the theme of our committee. I didn't know, but the actual, you heard me mention to her was this the original impetus of the bill by Representative Morales in her freshman term 2 years ago? And she has replied yes. And I didn't know, but her explaining how Representative Morales ended over with the commissioner to start this procedure, I am assuming, because I think I was asked to sign, and Representative Morales, being my seatmate, showed me the bill, and I said, I know who you need to see. Let's go to the quick. So fast forward, they did meet, but I also don't know if I can share, just to help the committee again, over the years, through different angles of associations, people have reached out to some of us on the committee, not knowing necessarily we were on this committee, but because we were serving. And it has been an ongoing problem. I think that I was approached by an engineer and the struggles. And so at that time, all we really could do was reach out to the Labor Department. So that's just a little bit of history. And I'm sorry if I've been bad. So maybe if you'd approve, Ms. Head, to share a little, if you think that's appropriate.
Sure. You had a very specific question on the history, so I'm going to ask Ms. Head to come back in. If she's still with us. So,
yes, I'm still here.
Commissioner Head, did you hear the question?
I did hear the question. I'm not exactly sure what is being asked of me, except that this bill was the result of the merger of two separate bills that address two different workforce issues. And last session's committee merged them into one study. So I think some of the comments that have been made specifically by Mr. Dostie I'm glad they are raised, because the provisions that affect or encourage foreign trained, those provisions are not intended to affect someone in another state that has a land surveying license. They're different. I think what Mr. Dostie has done is made the case for the departments in licensure by enforcement provisions, which would pay that out-of-state licensee, look at what they have so far, but then proceed with licensure to make sure the individual understands Maine's specific and unique features. So we could have divided the report into two bills, but we wanted to leave them together because both groups are critical to Maine's economy. And the other thing I would just want to say is that this is not intended to take any authority away from a licensing board, just the opposite. That's what LD 612 might do. So I'm very comfortable with Mr. Dostie's specific recommendations, and I would be happy to work with him. But it is a long history. This bill comes after 2.5 years of work. So I really hope the committee can see its way to support it, but I will stop there. I don't know if I've answered the question, Representative Austin, but I appreciate the history there.
Thank you very much.
I knew, Commissioner, that if I could even get some premise of a question out there, you would give us more information we could use. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Breton, is there anyone else? I believe we have gotten through, had everyone that wanted to give testimony has given testimony. Is that correct?
I believe so. We are seeing one person on a phone line that I do not know who that would be.
Okay. Okay, and no one else is registered though at this point.
Nobody else has registered.
Okay, we'll do with it as that. We'll having heard all of the public testimony, we will declare this public hearing closed. So public hearing on LD 149 is now closed. And as that is the last piece of work on our agenda today, before I ask for a move to adjourn, Ms. Olson, is there anything that you need from us?
No, I do not, but I'd just like to remind the committee that if there's anything you would like for me specifically to bring back to the work sessions, to just reach out in advance and I'll compile that information for you.
Great. Thank you so much. And I really want to express my appreciation for the quality of your bill analyses. They've been very, very helpful. So with that, we'll move, accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved, seconded. Seconded, Representative Ducharme. All those in favor, just show of hands. Have a very good, beautiful day.